What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host that's rushing because his cousin is getting online soon and he's pooping right now, so I gotta kill time. Zach. Today's subreddit is r/ProRevenge. Alright, this story's called Make Me Do All Your Work and Threaten Me? Okay, now you get life in prison. So this happened to me years ago. 1985? Cocaine! My mother worked for what was the first computer supply company in the USA in lovely Compton, California. Gang capital of the world at the time. Hey, I know a group of gentlemen who came straight out of Compton around that time period. Very big fans of making love to police officers, apparently. Anyway, she had heard they needed an order puller, and I got the job. I hated this job right away because for some reason, after busting my ass for 8+ hours a day, I'd go to sleep and dream I was still working, so I always felt tired. Most of the guys I worked with were good guys. One was a former Mexican mafia gang member, Victor, who gave up the life and really turned his life around. One day they hired Gino. He was an Italian-American but wanted to be a Mexican gangbanger more than anything. He latched onto Victor after finding out about his past and was always asking about the gang lifestyle, and he was hoping that Victor could help him get into the gang. Victor told him about his life but refused to introduce him as he gave that up and didn't want to go back. Gino wasn't happy about this. One day I started noticing Gino was finished working before all of us, and that for some reason I was not finishing until way later than the others. I wasn't slacking or working slow. I started to wonder why. One day, I saw Gino coming out of the warehouse manager's office area. It was just a desk between two partitions, acting strange when he noticed I saw him. We were given our stacks of orders for the day, and I noticed that mine was double the size of Gino's. I figured out he must have been putting his orders in my stack before the manager gave them out, but had no proof. The next day, I got there early and climbed up one of the storage racks. You know, the kind you see at Home Depot, above the desk where I couldn't be seen. The manager was inside the office getting coffee when I saw Gino go to his desk and slip half of his orders into my pile. I waited until he left and went inside to tell the manager. He came out and counted the orders and noticed I had many more than I should have, and Gino's were half of what he gave him. When we all got together to get our orders later, all of them had a few extra in them, and Gino was gone. He got fired for what he did, but to make matters worse, he told Victor that he was coming back to kill me for reporting him, and Victor advised I leave because he knew he was serious, and that Gino wanted to have something like a killing on his reputation for getting into a gang. I was furious at the manager for telling him I reported him, so I quit on the spot, but not before going inside to tell my mom what happened. She was good friends with the owner and told him about the incident, and he was so sorry it happened, and he promptly walked out into the warehouse and fired the manager for putting my life in danger by not being more discreet about who reported Gino. I heard later he threw me under the bus because he was afraid of Gino himself. Fast forward a few months and I had a better job working at a well-known amusement park. One night, the local Los Angeles channel had a special on gang violence that I watched. One segment was about an armed robbery in which two gang members robbed a convenience store, and the store video had the two gang members' faces clearly on the screen, and there was sound also. They not only robbed the store, but the one gang member shot and killed the clerk for no reason. Guess who that gang member was? Gino! I recognized him by his face, tattoos, and voice. At the end, they said it was still unsolved and to call the LA County Sheriffs if there was any information. I called immediately, and two detectives came by the next morning. A few weeks later, the detective called me to thank me because they not only arrested him, but got the other guy too. Dumbass Gino even had the murder weapon on him when arrested. They contacted me a few months later to inform me that Gino and his friend both got life without parole. Don't bend over for that soap, Gino. Thanks for reading. It's long, but I think a good lesson for anyone wanting to join a gang. Now, who are we more mad at? The gangs or the society that forced the gangs to form? Obviously, the rule is an individual is responsible for their own actions, but it's a lot more nuanced than that. Gino, obviously, he wanted to be in a gang for God knows what reason. And he didn't seem to be a very decent guy. Killing that store clerk, that was just messed up, man. But it's important to keep perspective and know that not everything is black and white. Because just because you're in a gang, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a bad person who wants to do bad things. You could very well just be a victim of circumstance. But above all else, stay safe, but also be a badass. Alright, this story's called Best Man Brings Mistress to My Wedding. We make him leave the state. Backstory and context. Names aren't real. First, I am an awful writer, so I apologize ahead of time. I posted this before, but it was so poorly written it got removed. I met Justin while working campus security at a local community college here in Iowa. My first day of work was his last day of work when we had a domestic call in the parking lot where a student had punched his girlfriend. The police were called and they took it from there. Justin failed to write his report and was let go. In the 12 hours of working with him, I found him personable, friendly, and funny. We both liked off-roading, guns, hunting, and other hobbies, so we became friends. Over the years of being friends, I noticed while he would give the shirt off his back to help another, he liked to embellish or just straight up make up stories. My soon-to-be wife and I soon became close family friends with Justin and his wife Larissa. Larissa was sweet, kind-hearted, soft-spoken, successful, and an amazing cook. After a few years, Justin starts to take a turn for the worse and begins lying about mundane things, like things as simple as what he had for lunch, or how he saw such and such a band when he was deployed. The issue with his fantastic Navy experience is he could never keep his job title straight. He would say he was a navigator, then he would say he was SWIC? I don't know what that is. Then something different. He would claim PTSD caused his lies, and we would just move on. Over time, my soon-to-be wife and Larissa became best friends, and she almost became part of our family in a way, as well as Justin. We noticed Justin was spending a lot of time with a member of our local Jeep Club's daughter. We will name her Billy, Tony being her father. The Jeep Club was a huge part of our lives, and we would do camping trips, road trips, off-road trail rides, and even obstacle courses. Billy was 17, and Justin was in his late 30s. They were constantly together, leaving Larissa to hang out with us. Justin went so far as to buy Billy her prom dress, and was just very uncomfortably attached to Billy. Tony calls us asking if we know where Billy is, as he had not seen her since that morning and it was just getting to be dinner time. We told him she was with Justin and they had gone fishing. Tony said he had stopped by the house and saw Justin's Jeep parked in the driveway, but no one answered. He pinged his daughter's cell phone and it showed it was at Larissa and Justin's house. Larissa went home and literally caught them in just underwear. Justin somehow explained it away and all was well. Mary and I quickly put Justin on our B list, but he was still set to be my best man and Larissa a bridesmaid for our upcoming wedding. As the wedding comes closer, Justin keeps going down a spiral, and Larissa keeps forgiving and taking his word for it. A few days before the wedding, Larissa tells us that she can't come to the wedding because she has to go pick up Justin's 2 kids from a prior marriage in Georgia. What? Mary was bummed, but had a friend take her place so our wedding party would be even. It's wedding day and we are setting up and are very busy, as we did the catering ourselves and planning and everything. Justin calls me and asks if he can bring a +1, and I say sure without really thinking about it. People start to arrive and everything is running smoothly until Justin shows up with his +1. We will call her Danny. Justin introduced her as a friend he met at work, but Mary and I know better. Trying to see if Danny knows she's being played, we ask where Larissa is. He says she's picking up his kids and will be back tomorrow. The only time Danny batted an eye was when he called her a friend from work. We move on and don't dive into it as we still have a lot to do. The wedding ceremony goes off without a hitch and we start the reception. It's open bar and good music. The usual wedding things, the speeches, food, drinks, games, and tossing of flowers and undergarment. What? As the night goes on, Justin and Danny are huddled in the corner. However, we need Justin for his speech. We drag him out onto the dance floor and he tells his speech. Meanwhile, Mary is talking to Danny, asking her how they met, who they were, word to each other in telling her about Larissa. Danny is shocked and quite pissed. We give her a stiff drink and the night goes on. Dancing and drinking is all that's left and the pictures start flashing. We take pictures of everyone, including Justin, I'm assuming they mean Danny, and including some kissing photos. The whole night we are sending these to Larissa via Snapchat. Eventually, my aunt, mother, and a few others confront me because they heard Danny is a mistress. We explain it's not our business, but we are handling it. This not being good enough, the family confronts Justin and Danny and tell them to leave. As soon as they leave, I call Larissa and tell her everything. The call: "Hey Larissa, it's Chris. We need to talk when you get back. We have some bad news and evidence this time." She asked if it's marriage ending or something else. I say marriage ending. The next day, my Snapchat had a ton of screenshot notifications, all from Larissa, and Larissa calls saying she will be at our house in an hour. The plot and revenge. Larissa shows up in tears and shaking with anger. We try to calm her, but this is her moment to melt down. She tells us how he hasn't touched her in months, how they found out she can't have kids, and since then he's been super distant. How he gets messages at odd times and won't check them when she's around. How she caught Billy and him but was too blind to see it. On and on she went about how he keeps getting fired from jobs. He's spending all her money on Jeep parts and cash withdrawals from ATMs. She runs out of fuel eventually and we ask her what she wants to do. We veto her first answer for legal reasons, but we plot our revenge. We will take everything from him, starting with kicking him out with only items he paid for with his money. We go to Larissa's house and change the locks. We gather up Justin's clothes and a few other things he paid for. I grab his PS4 and Larissa says no, she paid for that. We dump it all on the curb. The next thing is the Jeep he loves so dear. The Jeep, being fully in Larissa's name, paid for by her, the parts added also paid for by her. We drive to the bar where he works and using the extra key, we take the Jeep and stash it at a Jeep Club member's house, having him filled in entirely with what's going on. The struggle. Justin apparently was not going down without a fight. Larissa had stayed the night at our house, and the next morning she calls us telling Justin had broken into her house and taken all the electronics, some of the furniture, and even pictures off the wall, as well as cut up the mattress and broke some pictures. He also took the remaining keys, including one to her Jeep. Larissa tells us she called the police, but they won't do anything. I call my friend who's an officer and see if he could help. He's the same officer I asked about when we found Justin was sleeping with Billy. At the time, he said she's 17, an adult in Iowa, nothing he could do. This time, he said they are married and both dwelling and have legal right to the home. Unless he does something threatening or illegal, it's a civil matter. It doesn't take long for Justin to cross that line though. Larissa calls us and tells us that Justin just tried to steal her Jeep from work, but she had bought the club and locked it to her wheel. The Jeep ended up in traffic with the door wide open and Justin was arrested for it. Larissa finally got what she needed to get a restraining order and a breath of air as we moved ahead. Now we had taken his car and his house, but he was still in town causing trouble for anyone he thought took part in this. The only thing he had left was his job, which we were sure he would lose on his own, but we needed to give it a shove. We had found his discharge papers from the Navy. Turns out he was a navigator and nothing more. It also showed he was dishonorably discharged. We make contact with Danny and she tells her side of the story and tells us she wants to get revenge as well. Larissa, who had full access to the iCloud and had seen all the women Justin had messed with, reached out to all of them. 2 more were willing to join for the final move. The final move is to take his discharge papers to the bar, which prided itself on hiring veterans and supporting veterans, with all the women he had messed with and lied to and caused a scene. This was partially ruined when the owner walks out and meets us all in the parking lot. She's not having it at her bar. We all tell her what he has done to us and that he lied when he applied to work there and handed her his papers. She reads them and hands them back. She says to stay there, that Justin will be out shortly and will need a ride. We wait, and out lopes Justin, red-faced and clearly pissed. He starts yelling if we are happy, that we have taken everything from him that he's going to sue and end up owning Larissa's house. Larissa, out of the blue, says no. We haven't taken everything yet, but we will if you don't leave. He laughs and asks,
"Oh yeah? You took my house, my car, and my job. What's left?"
Larissa says,
"Your kids. Now that you have nothing, you had better move back home, because if you don't, we will send everything to your ex and she will take you back to court, and without me to support you, you have absolutely nothing."
We leave and find out he called his mom, who paid for a one-way ticket back to Texas. Hey, we don't want his sorry ass here. We still gave the information to his ex, but don't know what came of it. Hope you all enjoyed reading this. Hopefully it was a bit more clear and detailed. This is how we made a full-grown man call his mommy to save him. Just goes to show, if you still want to fool around with other people, you gotta make sure your partner knows that before you get married. I mean, while it's not the typical relationship, I mean, if both parties are happy and no one's getting freaking hurt because they're being betrayed and cheated on behind their back, I guess it's not really cheating if they're aware, right? Because then it's called cheating because you're cheating your partner out of respect and loyalty from you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.